And welcome to hour number 2 of the most listened to, most watched show in our country about the RV lifestyle. Alan Warren, your RV wingman here, looking out for you by finding guests that will help make you a whole lot smarter and help level the playing field between you and the RV manufacturers and some bad RV dealers. Now, you can stay connected with us in any or all of the following. You can connect with us on Facebook, just like our page. YouTubers can subscribe to our YouTube channel. With both, just go to the search bar, type in The RV Show USA, hit the like or the subscribe button. Make sure you turn your notifications on. We also give away up to $1,200 in $50 gift cards every week to people on our email list. If you're not yet receiving our emails and want to stay connected and have a chance at winning one of our gift cards every week, add your name to our email list. It will take you less than 15 seconds to do at thervshowusa.com. So our next guest is one of our most popular, not so much with the RV industry, but and bad RV dealers, but with RVers, he is the bomb. I'm telling you, he's one of the country's top RV lemon lawyers, and we have him right here to help you better understand your rights and responsibilities as an RV owner. Greetings again, Ron Burdge.
Well, how you doing, Alan?
I'm doing great. It is so nice. People just love listening to you, and who can blame them? Now, for our listeners and viewers who don't know what an RV
Even
lemon lawyer does,
once
Ron,
in a while.
can you kind of explain what an RV lemon lawyer does?
Basically, you help people get rid of their bad RV and get a new one, or get enough money back from the manufacturer to make up for the bad that it was so plagued with, so that you can go out and get a new one, or you can get rid of it.
Now, according to the law, what is a lemon RV?
Well, there's a federal lemon law, so to speak, and then every state has its own version of lemon laws. So you actually have two different lemon laws you have to look at in order to figure out whether or not you've got any rights when you've got an RV. Generally speaking, it has to be a new RV, first of all. Used ones generally don't count anywhere. If you have a new RV that you buy, then if you have chassis problems, then in all likelihood your state lemon law may apply to that. But state lemon laws generally don't apply to the box, the living quarters and such. For that part, you got to use the federal lemon law. And under the federal lemon law, there really isn't any magic number of repair trips or anything. It's a matter of whether or not the manufacturer or its dealer got things fixed within a reasonable amount of time or a reasonable number of chances. And that can be pretty vague, which is why they passed all the state lemon laws trying to fix those vague aspects with some specifics.
It just seems like a Rubik's Cube of rules and laws, and it varies from this state to that state, and I don't understand why there's not something uniform across the whole country that's easy to understand, that somebody simple like me can go, got it, instead of all this changing and, well, that falls over here and that goes over there. That's what I guess that's why we have to have lawyers, Ron.
Well, you could get rid of some of that problem if you just had a federal lemon law that covered RVs, but there isn't any such thing. The federal lemon law that does exist doesn't give you the specifics that occurs in these state laws. And the state laws, thanks frankly to the RV industry itself, they don't have any specific coverage for the RV, only for the chassis.
Wow. Now,
and there actually is a national association of state attorney generals called Lemon, IALL, I think it is. And they drafted a model RV lemon law that they wanted to see if they could get passed. Not a single state adopted it, not one.
Wow.
Wow. So everybody out there can thank their state congressperson for not giving them any strong protections.
Not one state. Now I know that any lawyer, I guess, could represent me if I was a disgruntled RV owner. But I hear a lot of people that have a problem with their RV. They go to their family lawyer, the person that does their wills and things. They spend $500 or $1,000, and it turns out it is a complete waste because their lawyer isn't a specialist in lemon law claims in the RV industry, and they get very frustrated about that.
I hate to say it, but you're right. That is true. And there's a fair number of cases that are sent to me by general practitioner attorneys or attorneys who write wills or do criminal cases, and they send off a letter to the factory, and then when they get the usual runaround or they get blown off, they realize they got to turn to somebody else. And I think that's a real problem for the consumer out there. You wouldn't go to a dentist to get the hot water tank removed, and you wouldn't have your hot water tank removed by somebody who's a car dealer. You need a specialist nowadays for different kinds of things. And unfortunately, lemon laws and RV laws in particular are their own little niche of area that most people don't know anything about. They don't teach anything about this in law school.
But this is something that you have done for decades. I mean, you are a specialist. This is all you do at the Burdge Law Firm, isn't it?
That is right. That's all that I do. And I've got a partner, and this is all that she does here now at the law firm also. And we've got an associate attorney who is now moving into this area also, because there's just so many of them out there and so much work to do, and nobody really does it.
You know, I want to bring something up that I saw a post on Facebook recently about an RVer that was frustrated because Ron Burdge couldn't take on their case, and let's talk a little bit about that. Is it because the case isn't big enough? Is it because the RV wasn't expensive enough? I mean, you absolutely can't serve everybody. How do you choose who you're going to represent and who you aren't?
You know, I've often told my wife that if I ever won the lottery, I'd do this for free just because it's fun and people need the help. But until I win the lottery, I have to have certain guidelines by which we can handle cases, because we can't take them all. And the federal lemon law, that is going to generally apply to every RV. So that law requires that you have at least $50,000 in damages, which generally means you've got to have an RV that costs probably $75,000 or more to be able to use that law. And you've got to have some serious problems with the vehicle or some significant history of repair attempts anyway. So you got to have that law, because that law applies everywhere. The state lemon laws, they might or might not do you any good. So our general rule is that we need to have an RV whose sale price is either $75,000 or at least $50,000, and there are major problems with the $50,000. If it doesn't have a bunch of major problems, then you can have a $75,000 RV on up, and that's what you pay for it, not what the MSRP is. But if that's what you paid for it, then you easily qualify for the federal lemon law, and that's the law that an RV owner needs to use.
All right. Now you have talked often on your show appearances about Murphy's Law and how it can have a powerful effect, either good or bad. Let's cover that. We got about 2 minutes till the break. Tell us about Murphy's Law and what we need to know.
Well, Murphy's Law, when it comes to RVs and your warranty, basically I think the way that it works is simple. As long as you think that everything will get fixed and you don't keep track of what's going on, you can pretty well bet things won't get fixed, and later on you'll wish you did. So you have to keep track. You have to make a diary. You have to plan on things that will go wrong, so that if you end up having to fight or argue, you got the records to back up what you say happened. In my experience over the last 40 years of doing this kind of work, and particularly the last 20 of doing RV cases, if you call the factory to complain, the factory is making notes of what you say. If you don't make notes of what you actually say, you have no proof. And I have never seen a case where the notes that the factory had matched up with what the consumer said was going on in the conversation. That's an example. You have to keep track of what's going on. It's Murphy's Law. As sure as you figure you won't have a trouble, you will have a trouble. And as sure as you figure you don't need the evidence to prove what happened later on, you'll wish you had it.
And if you have a problem RV, a new RV, it's not just sending emails or making phone calls. It's a combination of letters. And what do we need to do if we have a problem RV?
Well, if you got a problem RV, the first time you have any indication of a problem after you bought it, then there's a series of things you got to go through. And basically, you can sum it up by saying you have to plan for what you're going to do in terms of these repair trips and how you're going to handle them. You have to show up. You have to show up on time and do certain things when you show up to make sure that you know what's going on and you keep track of it. You have to check back and then pick up the RV and certain things through each one of those steps.
All right, hang on, Ron. We got to jump for a quick break. The RV Show USA with your RV wingman and our friend RV Lemon lawyer Ron Burdge. We'll be right back. We had a lot of phone calls. A lot of people have questions for Ron, so y'all stick around. He is here to make you a whole lot smarter. Be right back. All right, Ron Burdge is with us this hour. He is one of the country's top RV lemon lawyers, and we're addressing things that you need to know about your responsibilities and your legal rights as the owner of a brand new RV. For those watching our live stream, if you have a question or comment or a topic you'd like to run past Ron, go ahead and post it. We'll, as I said, add it to our list. Ron, what percentage would you say of the people that contact your law firm with a potential claim about a lemon RV are not prepared paperwork, diary-wise, to move forward?
Well, there's actually two things to look at there: the ones that are not prepared to move forward, and the ones whose record keeping is so bad that they're not prepared. Because if they haven't been keeping records and everything, we can reconstruct things sufficiently to be able to go with it. But the problem is the ones who don't have the records, who don't have copies of their repair orders, who didn't write a diary, who didn't keep track of what was going on. That's where there's a real problem. That percentage of people is probably somewhere around 20%, 25%. And then the people who are they have some records. They're prepared in what I would call a pretty good sense, but not what I would really like. That's probably about somewhere around 50% of the people to 60% of the people.
Wow.
It's really the minority of people who have done a very good job of getting everything tracked down and record keeping and really hand it to their lawyer on a silver platter.
So when do I do that?
If you want to have your rights done, that's what you got to do.
When do I begin keeping a diary, taking notes? I mean, you hate to go in paranoid, but when do I begin keeping a diary?
First trip to the garage before you ever leave the house. You have to plan, and that's what I was talking about a minute ago. You got to plan to avoid the problem, because if you don't plan to avoid the problem, you'll get the problem. And so what you need to do is to start a diary and then keep that diary going on for everything that ever happens with that RV. As sure as you do that, you'll end up having one of the RVs where things get fixed right and you'll be okay. As sure as you don't, 6 months later, you'll wish to goodness sakes you had made notes of what they said to you on the phone, among other things.
That is so true. When is the time to go to a lawyer, to contact Ron Burdge, for example? When is the time? You know, the first trip, the second trip, 5 months into the deal? When is the time to go to you and see a lawyer?
Well, generally speaking, the federal lemon law says that you've got to give the manufacturer a reasonable number of opportunities, and some courts say that means you got to give them 2 chances to fix the problems with the RV. So what I like to see is a customer or a client who has gone back to the dealer or gone to the factory for at least 2 repair trips, and the problems don't go away. But that's really sort of an absolute minimum in my mind. There's no rule. These are just rules that I use because I can only handle so many cases, so I want to make sure the ones that I handle are the ones that I can go into a courtroom on if I need to. So I want to have at least 2 repair trips. I prefer to have 60 days out of service total during the ownership or more. And believe it or not, 60 days out of service is pretty darn easy to get on a new RV. There are very few cases where I don't see during the first 9, 10 months that the RV's been in the shop someplace a total of at least 60 days. That seems to be a real problem in the industry. I also like to see, if I'm going to have to fight with an RV manufacturer, I like to see a client who has got their paperwork together. A very good example, I was down in Florida last week on a case. We had an RV inspection one day. I'd filed the case just a month or 2 back. The company had not even filed its answer in the court yet. They wanted to inspect the RV. The client had all of his paperwork together, everything. He had an analysis of everything. He knew all the defects. He had a spreadsheet of how many times. I mean, I never had a client who was so prepared as this. But you know what? They inspected the RV one day, and the next day, and when they showed up for the mediation, they started talking about replacing it. And this was an over $300,000 RV.
And it's because he
the
kept
kind of thing that can happen.
Excellent records, and he documented everything, right?
Absolutely. Photographs, videos. He even had a PowerPoint presentation that explained everything, which I didn't even need to show to them. They just knew it was there.
But now, you answered we had a caller, Carol from Texas. She wanted to know how many times that she had to take her RV to the dealer to get fixed. I thought it was more than 2 times, but she had a second part of the question. How many? She said, if the dealer doesn't fix everything on your list, is that considered a trip to the dealer? Some people have 40, 50 things on their list.
Doesn't matter. It's not how many times they actually fix it. It's not even how many times they actually try to fix it. It's how many times you gave them a chance to fix it that counts.
Who is responsible, Ron, for Lemon RVs? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the dealer? Is it both? Who's responsible for these lemons that we hear about?
Well, I think the way to look at it is to think about where's the root cause. If the RV has got a problem that originated during the construction process or the assembly process at the factory, then ultimately it's the factory's fault. If, however, the dealer fouled up things or the dealer installed something that caused a problem or whatever, then the dealer can end up being liable for that. But in most of these dealers' sales contracts, they write in there on their pre-printed forms, they've got printed in there language that basically says you're buying it as is from the dealer. And that's why those 9 words that we've talked about before become so very important, because it can put the dealer on the hook with the factory. The factory gives you the warranty, and that warranty is supposed to cover the RV.
In terms of timing, I want to ask you, once I engage with a lawyer, how does that change the dynamic of my claim? If I've been contacting the dealer, the manufacturer rather, contact the manufacturer, and I'm just not getting anywhere, and once I engage a lawyer, doesn't that change the whole dynamic of the deal?
It changes the dynamics. That's certainly true. And I think part of the reason it changes it is because even if it is a lawyer who doesn't know the law, and trust me, the RV companies know which ones do and don't, but even if you have any kind of a lawyer at all who sends off a letter, it automatically ratchets it up a little bit more respect and a little more caution on the factory end in the way they're going to deal with you. When it's a customer that they're dealing with directly, quite frankly, my experience with them is that they'll pretty much say and do whatever the customer wants to hear, and then they'll say and do whatever they want to say and do at the factory end. The lip service will string it on out. A very good example is I had a client who called me, about 2 weeks ago on a bad RV, and I won't name the manufacturer, but he called me about 1.5 years after he had bought the RV. It had a 1-year warranty, and it had one of those clauses in it that says that if you're going to file a claim, you got to do it within 3 months after the warranty expires. And I asked him why he waited so long, and it was because the factory kept telling him they were working on it, they were going to fix it. They made another appointment to bring it back, but they couldn't get it back in until after the warranty ran out, and they still had it at the factory, and they were still working on it. So now he's 1.5 years after he bought it, and he can't even do anything legally against the factory because of that clause. Instead, he's got to argue about whether the clause is enforceable instead of whether the RV is bad.
It's just sad. I don't know how we got here. That's a story for another day. I know we have you for another couple of segments. We're going to be talking about your website, all the resources that you've got available for free to people. And hang on, okay? I even have a question about deceptive trade practice situation. Can we do that?
Oh, absolutely. That's a real good law.
All right, good deal. All right, folks, this is the RV Show USA. We got Ron Burdge on with us. We'll be back right after this.